Lady and the Tramp. Lady was a cocker spaniel who came to live with two people called Darling and Jim there when she was a puppy. It was a happy place to live because Darling and Jim there were very fond of her and provided her with two neat feeding bowls all of her very own. She had a round wicker basket too, lined with a soft, fluffy blanket to curl up in when she felt a little tired or when she wanted to be left undisturbed. Of course, it wasn't long before she had trained her people to feed her from the table. Not with full meals, naturally, but with the very choicest tidbits from their own plates. Each morning, she ran up the stairs with the morning paper and most of the letters that the postman popped through the letterbox. And in the evening, when Jim there came home from work, he would whistle to her and Lady would run to him no matter what she was doing. Lady felt that Darling and Jim there were the kindest kind of people to have around the house. Jock and Trusty, two gentlemanly dogs who lived next door, agreed. But there was another dog around the neighborhood who had a few words to say on the subject, and he didn't agree with Lady, Jock and Trusty at all. Oh no! I will wear no man's collar, he boasted. No man is going to have me running little errands for him. I am free, and that's the way I'm going to stay. This is life. But where do you sleep? Lady asked. And who prepares your food? Can't you afford to keep a few people to look after these things for you? It's quite a matter of choice, you know, replied the Tramp. If you know your way around, as I do, you can sort those matters out quite nicely without having to rely on people. Just wait, my proud beauty. Until a baby comes to stay in your house, things will be different then. I can assure you, there is only so much room for love in people's hearts. And when a baby comes, out goes the dog. Lady was very worried by these strange words. They worried her even more when a baby really did come to her house to live. Not that Darling and Jim there didn't seem to be kind, but what with all the bathing that the baby seems to need, and all the meals in the middle of the night, and so on, they were very busy. Lady remembered how she had been a puppy. She had needed extra attention, but this baby seemed to go on being a baby for such a long time, whereas her puppy days had been very short indeed. And then a dreadful thing happened. Darling's Aunt Sarah came to visit. Aunt Sarah didn't like dogs. That creature must go out and live in the yard, she said. What's more, it should have a muzzle. Lady never thought that Darling or Jim there would take any notice, but she was wrong. The very next day, Jim there fitted her with a nasty muzzle and tied her up in the yard. Lady yelped to Darling to do something about it, but it was no good. It was awful being tied up in the yard, and the muzzle was so uncomfortable. Lady was so relieved when the Tramp came by and wagged her tail furiously. Oh, said the Tramp. So it happened already, has it? Just as I said. Still, never mind. We will soon get rid of that muzzle. Come along now. Come along, cried Lady. How can I? Surely, you can see I'm tied up to a spot. Oh, that? Said Tramp scornfully. That's nothing. I forgot you don't know the first thing about doing anything for yourself. Look, Watch me. Lady watched as he showed her how to lunge against the rope until it broke. Then away they went to get the muzzle off. "You're clever," said Lady, as they walked through the town. "It was nothing," said the tramp, but he looked pleased all the same. "Where are we going?" asked Lady. "And how will we get the muzzle off?" "Just to see a friend of mine," said the tramp, "at the entrance to the zoo. He lives here." The tramp's friend turned out to be Beaver, who looked pleased to see them. "Hello, Beaver," said the tramp. "Like to help us out?" "Certainly," said Beaver. "Always glad to oblige you. You know me, I say, Miss, that's a very fine muzzle you've got there." "That's just what we want to get rid of," said the tramp. "If you can get it off, you are very welcome to keep it for your own use." So, Beaver chewed the muzzle off, and Lady and the tramp left him trying it on. "Where would you like to go?" asked the tramp. "The world is wide. We will go anywhere you like. A trip to the seaside, perhaps, or a few days in the country." "Oh, I must go home," said the lady. "I've got to watch the house and the baby, you know." "What? After the way they've treated you?" replied Tramp. "I will never understand women." But Lady was so determined that the tramp gave in, and they were soon in the street outside Lady's house. I will peep in through the window first to see if there is anyone around," said Lady. "After all, I am a yard dog now. You know." The two dogs peered over the sill of the downstairs window, and the tramp's nose twitched. "Something wrong here," he growled. "And look, Lady, there is a flicker of fire over there." Lady didn't wait a minute longer. She raced indoors to save the baby and Jim there and Darling. The tramp was right behind her as she dashed up the stairs, barking wildly. While she woke Jim there and Darling, the tramp stood guard at the baby's crib. Just to show there was no ill feeling, Lady looked around for Aunt Sarah, but she seemed to have gone home. Jim there and Darling were cross with Lady for causing all the noise until they saw the fire. Then they were very thankful. When the fire had been put out, Jim there took the tramp to one side. "Jolly good show you did there," he said. "I did like to offer you a home and a job. What do you say?" The tramp remembered what he had said about wearing no man's collar and sighed. Then he looked at Lady. "Thank you, sir. I will take it," he replied. He and Jim there shook paws. It's a strange thing, but now Lady and the tramp have two families to look after. Darling and Jim there and the baby are one, but by far the most difficult task is to look after the other. A family of roly-poly puppies. But Lady thinks it's all quite worth it. And as for the tramp, well, he's quite the proudest dog in town. The end.